Alright, today on Clark's Place we're going to try to match up the rocker, the door, and the fender all on the same plane. So when I do wrap this thing finally in some paint, the whole thing actually comes together. You can see right here is one of the last things I'm going to address. I had a couple little ends there that had some chunks in it from actually taking the fender on and off and chunking it out there. A couple pinholes that still need to be filled in, but I will probably do those once it's finally assembled and I'm ready to actually paint instead of do some of that finished stuff. So, and some of the primer may fill some of that. So I'm gonna mount the door, get that on there so we can see if it's along that same line, and then match the fender, get that gap right to where when I do put this thing, assemble it after painting everything lines up and matches perfect. Oh, and it looks like these guys over here still need a little attention. So haven't worked on the charger in a while, so it'll be good to do a little work on it today. So hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching. All right, there I'm just grabbing some sandpaper here and just bringing that corner down to the same plane as the rest of it there, and just kind of working the edge like I said I was gonna there. Clapping some sandpaper and throwing some dust like usual. I think as I saw a couple things up on the cowl area there, and then the back of that rocker I worked on this day, and then the next video there's some more work and where I put a little more filler in it as well. But just putting some new sandpaper on here. I think I had a couple pieces of sandpaper rip off and it left a little piece in there on the actual pad, so you'll see me work to get that off. I think right there, yep, you can see. And then that actually is a flexible block. It like conforms to a curve, and I don't know what it's made out of. I think it was like $100 or so for that actual block. It's got 3 metal rods that go through it to keep it straight, or it flexes, and for some reason the sandpaper doesn't flex. I mean, it flexes with it. It doesn't like bind up. So it's a super cool tool to get some curves sanded flat all along the same line there. So there I am, just working that edge a little more here. And fender comes on and comes off a few times here. You can see as I put it down on the other side, it's already painted red on the inside. I painted that months ago. And then I think I threw the door on here, and I think I had an issue when I went to bolt it up. I think with the several coats of primer, it just was starting and it just would not go through there. And so I went over, and you can see me in the background over there. I'm getting some tools and actually getting the tap and die set for it. I tried to run the screw down off of the car as well, thinking it might just go through, and it just would not. So I've got a little tap and die, and I go through and just it's a good thing to do is to tap all the holes again, just because you've got paint and everything on it. So there I am twirling it through and getting everything right. And I think I had to do that on the other side as well. There may be video of that too, but threw it back up there and throw some bolts in it. You'll see the door kind of pop up in the right spot here where it's supposed to be. Yeah, there we go. Door opens and closes good. And then, yeah, all that's squared away. And then I'm so happy with how this car looks and how all the lines, as crazy as the lines are on this car, how good they look. Okay, this is what we're after. With this fender up where it goes, you can see the height there. The door needs to come up just a smidge. You can see I still need to take a little bit off of that tip of that rocker to make that gap right. And it looks like the door has a little bit of a flare right there that I'm gonna grind off of there and make that line straighter. That's a new AMD door, so that I don't know why that flaw is in there, but I just tried to sand it thinking it might be Bondo, but you can see behind it, you can see it's a metal edge there that I need to do a little grinding, do a little door shaping. So I think with that cut at the right angle and then this little shaved out, we'll be very, very close to, I'll pop this up where it goes. Very, very close. Looks like the edge of that door there could use a little grinding too, just to make that, looks like the fender sticks out a little bit there. So we'll match that maybe a little better, make that a little more rounded or a little sharper coming down into that corner. So other than that, going pretty good today. So we'll get some more shaping done. All right, so with the fender and the door there, I just kind of pointed out some of the work that I was doing or was going to plan on doing. So there I am, just marking. I did a quick little shot of the gap there, showing that I liked the gap in the back too, but just used a little Sharpie or something, and then went to work with the file. And I think I got discouraged with the file that I knew I wasn't going to be able to get it, so I just put a piece of blue tape on it there, and yep, took the door off, and then I will see that spot and I will know that I've got to actually grind that later. I'll do it actually off of the car. It was too tight to get in there with the rocker in the way and all that, and with the edge of that rocker, me flaring it out with a little filler to make that gap all right. I didn't want to destroy the rocker, which is not metal on the very edge there. So just kind of doing some detail cleaning up there along the top of the rocker, and I think I spent quite a bit of time here in that back little cavity. I probably filled it 3 or 4 different times, and I just, every time I either use the wrong tool, the Bondo eater eats it out too far, or I use a little circular belt sander, and it just has dug it out. It didn't come together perfectly, and I think even from the factory, it's got a little flared out area that it comes down and welds in that corner. And I mean, a lot of cars, if you look down there, they look kind of goobery, and a lot of cars filled them with like seam sealer and stuff, and I just didn't want that seam sealed look mess in the corner of the bottom of the door down there when you open it. So I try to pay attention to little details like that on people's restorations. So I want my own car to be something that every time I open the door, I look in there and I see, man, that looks all really slick down there. So blown everything out. I've blown all the different areas of that car. It seems like dust settles everywhere, so I'm all the time hitting it with some air. And I think this one, before I put the door on, I saw the edge of that cowl, like just some primer that had come down, so I grabbed the little multi-tool there with some sandpaper on it and just running it along that edge just to get some of that caked up primer. And you'll see on the edge of this door and the edge of the fender, when I was fitting it up, it was a pain to get this car fit right. This is kind of the easy part, is the doors seem to go on and off really easy now that I've got the hinges set where they need to be. But before all that was set, man, the fender was into the door, and then I had the door back and forward too far, and you'll see in the top of the door coming up here that the last part I end up sanding, and you'll see all the different colors of gray and black. That's how many different layers of sandpaper I've got on it. But all that black edge closest to me there, in those 2 scallops where it's kind of oversprayed black and looks a little green from the dust, that had chips in it from banging and pinching up against the fender, and just mistakes that happen in a garage. But it had been pinched and chipped on that fender quite a few times. But this one actually ends up, I'm pretty proud of all those lines. Looking at it here from a distance, the bottom body line looks really straight and nice, and there we go. All right, here we are showing the gaps. Fender's going to come up and in a little bit. You can see that gap all the way down, and then this seems to be out, just flared just a smidge. The fender's going to come out, but yeah, that's pretty darn close. And then it wants to sit in because it needs a spacer under here. I don't know if you can make that out, but where that pin comes through, you put spacers behind there to kick your fender out. So I think if I kick that fender out, get it mounted where it goes, I think that'll be close. Very, very close. And then I've got a little mark on the edge of that I'm gonna shave just it's like that door comes down and then flares out just a little bit. Not sure if you can make it out how black it is there. I just put a little mark right there just to file her down a little, just being the particular idiot that I am. But the rest of all this gap is all pretty darn good. So I will finish up sanding this for the pinholes that were in it, and then all that feels pretty darn good. So I think it'll be time for primer. On the other side, I had a little space where that quarter meets the rocker in there that was a little bit bad, so I'm going to put a little more filler. Might do that now so I can do it after. It'll be dry by the time I get all this done and that filed down a little bit. Then I might even need a little bit of filler in here. Just that is notorious for being terrible. So we'll go back to some time lapse and we'll see how she goes. All right, fender's off, door's off, work the rocker. I think the bottom edge of that door where it was flared out towards the fender also flared out a little bit from the rocker. So you see me, I just sanded that edge, and here's what I was talking about a little earlier, all the different colors of gray and black. I've probably got, I don't know, I've probably sprayed primer on this car 15 times, just working the quarters came with a couple little dings in them from AMD. It came on a pallet, and to my knowledge, I thought that if you got a body panel in the mail that it was banged up and beat up. It had bangs and beats all over the thing, but apparently that's just how they ship. They don't guarantee any of that stuff, and I didn't open it up and inspect anything, but when I could put some pictures up and show big caved in areas on it that I had to heat and pop out. And I mean, I really learned a ton about body work and all that goes into it. Doing this car, I've never done one as far down and as far taken apart as this, but here I am sanding the rocker. Yeah, it takes a lot of work, and that's just how they ship the stuff. No guarantees really. If it's got a dent, that's what they expect you to fix. So gonna get back into some live audio and kind of show the rocker how smooth that I think I've got it here. So okay, here is where I'm gonna leave it for now before I throw some primer on it. Really slick. I don't feel any variations. And sanded back that just a little bit, and that's all metal, so I can't really get into that. The other side I had to build out just a smidge, but yeah, overall very, very smooth. This is pretty darn good in here. I may sand in that corner a little bit more here, but we'll see. But next, I don't know if you can tell, there's a little bit in this body line. There's a little bit where I've filled a little bit. It's a little bit sharper in some spots. I don't know if either direction you can tell the body line is a little sharper. It's got some darker gray primer below the body line, so it's a little tough to make out, but like that is a sharper body line. So I'm just gonna round over the top of this whole quarter and probably the other side, and hopefully make that look a little more even. So we'll see. Okay, one thing I wanted to mention that I saw there, you may have noticed what looked like a tape line above that driver's quarter rear wheel there. Don't throw down like tape. I just kind of masked off an area. I threw tape down for what I thought I wanted to mask, just like as a quick outline. But then when I sprayed primer, I actually sprayed over the tape. It was a definite hard line. You could see that tape, and it took me a while to sand all that down to that line. So Just another tidbit there, but don't do that. And that's all for this video today. So appreciate you watching. Thank you much. Bye. Bye-bye.